Hi, beauties! It's Alexander here from Vinok Personal Stylist. First of all, I wanted to say Happy Mother's Day to any mothers that we have on this channel, which I'm sure are quite a few. And I know some of my clients have been moms, and some of you are aspiring moms. I want to apologize for the noise. My internet went out at my house, as did everything electronic, so that's a fun thing about living in California, in the backwoods, kind of. But anyway, today, what I would like to do is get into, from this cafe, I'd like to get into unboxing Dior's Mother's Day 2025 gift set, which is just beautiful. Check it out. It's gorgeous. So we'll go ahead and unbox that. We'll talk a little bit about Christian Dior's relationship with his own mother, which was really, really a beautiful relationship. And then finally, I'll talk a little bit about my own mom, just briefly. So, who was Madeleine Dior? Madeleine Dior was born in 1879 in France, and she got married at the age of 19, and then she had 5 children. And those 5 children, one of whom grew up to be Christian Dior, the designer we all know and love. One of whom also grew up to become, and I've done a video on her already, Jeanette Dior, who's an amazing woman who she fought against the Nazis during World War II. She fed intelligence to the French resistance. She was kidnapped and captured and tortured, and she survived. And so this woman has raised some amazing children, let's just put it that way. And something that really stood out about her was that she was very stately, and I apologize, people just said that. She was very stately, and she was leading like these fabulous dinner parties and things like that. So she was very busy, but she had, like I said, the 5 children, and she was able to balance their needs, including one son with special needs, not Christian, but she had a son, Berard, who had a very serious nerve disorder, and so that took up a lot of her time. For that reason, Christian Dior did describe her as like one of the most elegant, slender women, but he said she was occasionally distant. But he understood why. She had a lot on her plate. She was responsible for throwing these dinner parties for her husband, with his successful company. She ran a garden, which we'll talk about in a moment, because I know a lot of moms out there are really into gardening. So we'll get back to that. But she also was balancing the healthcare needs of her special needs son and her 4 other children in a time where things were pretty tumultuous, because it was what they then called the Great War, World War I, which they didn't know it was World War I at the time. She was involved in even the war effort. She was making bandages out of old fabric and things like that. So she had a patriotism that kind of coursed through her that obviously her daughter picked up on as well later on. So just talking very briefly about her garden, it's fascinating. It was purchased by the city of the village of Granville in France in 1932. After her death in 1931. She was only 52 years old when she died. She had a hard life. But her garden was very unique in that it is still studied as a case study by students of gardening to this day. The reason for that is she had this unique method and way of thinking, just like she kind of did with her children, where she would insulate them from the hardest things that she could. She did the same thing with her plants. So she had no desire to live in the mainstream part of the town with everybody. She moved out to the coast. She didn't want to be anywhere near people. She wanted to have her garden. She wanted to face over the water, and they had the money, so they did that. Her garden basically had like three walled sections. The walls were made of shrubbery and flowers and things like that. So on the outside walls of it, she planted native plants that were going to thrive and do well in that climate. Then on the inside of that wall, she planted another wall that was like non-native but hardier kind of plants. And then right in the dead epicenter of her garden, she planted the more exotic things, the jasmine, the geraniums, which were exotic back then, even certain types of roses that didn't naturally grow there. She planted those in the center. And those things would never have survived without her forethought and her very meticulous planning of where everything went. And I just think that's such a beautiful metaphor for, I'm not a mother myself, but for motherhood as it's been displayed to me. I'm so blessed beyond belief. I have the most amazing mother in the world. Her name is Sandy. We'll talk about her in a minute. But I think that this garden of hers was very metaphorical for how she chose to live her life. And she had such an impact on her son and all of her children that her son, most of his Belle Epoque, very French silhouette, very cinched waist, that was straight out of her closet, that was inspired. And so even years after Dior's death, after Christian Dior's death, his house, the House of Dior, knew how much of an influence she was on him, that in 2005 they actually made a dress named after her called Madeleine, that had that very same cinched waist pattern that she was so known for. And Christian Dior himself was quoted as saying that had my mother been alive, I'm paraphrasing, but had my mother been alive, I would never have dared to start my fashion house without her. And when I first read that, I thought that she was the inspiration, which she was, but what he meant as I continued to research was that she would have been his partner. It would have been their house. She had that much of a mind for fashion and for design and for proportionality and all of that. So I thought that was beautiful, that had he been given the opportunity, he would have wanted to start a business with his mother. So moving on, we'll go ahead and unwrap today's, this is one of several gift sets that Dior had for Mother's Day 2025. This is their signature packaging for the occasion. You can see how beautiful that is, with the butterflies and the gold filigree. We'll go ahead and open it up. My mother got something very similar in the mail, and we opened it over the video chat today because she's still back in DC. But I did go ahead as a little surprise to her and get a card engraved here too. So Mom, this is for you. You are the light of my world and the Dior of my perfume, and I love you more than I could ever possibly put into words. You were such a class act, a beautiful example of strength and courage and intelligence and wit and kindness, most of all. I think that's what I remember most and prize most about you is your kindness. And I remember all these extra things that you did to expose me and my little brother to different parts of the world and make sure we were plugged in with other cultures and other ways of thinking. And I directly credit you with the woman I am today. So I love you. And this will be for you as well, because I got a different version for you. And so with that said, this is what it looks like when you open it up. Just beautiful. We've got the Miss Dior Blooming Bouquet. And this, I've mentioned in the previous video, Miss Dior. It's actually named for his sister, Miss Dior, which is Jeanette. She went by Catherine, but her Christian name was Jeanette. And Blooming Bouquet is just a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Just an amazing, amazing scent. And what I love and what I use the heck out of is I have these Christian Dior travel cases, and they're wonderful. They're refillable. As you can see, you can fill it back up. You just pop this top part off, and you can pour more perfume into it, so it never really runs out. My sources for today were a few sites in French, which I will hyperlink if you're interested. I think you can translate them. And then this book, which I highly recommend. This one, all of these are in the description as well. And this one, which in addition to being fascinating, is a beautiful coffee table book, so I highly recommend. With that said, we'll go ahead and get out into the California sun, but happy Mother's Day and wonderful chatting about all this stuff today. Love to all the moms out there.